Joining me now to discuss, Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, I have a lot of questions for you about the very real consequences of the president's lack of shame. But first, I want to acknowledge something important off the top. Last night, President Trump signed into law the Caeser Act. It's a bill you co-sponsored, which sanctions Bashar al-Assad, Russia, and Iran for its war crimes. It's a significant piece of legislation that lets the world know there are consequences, finally. And it showed that bipartisanship isn't dead. Your quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. And you've taken a very strong leadership role on this, too. You have deep passion for the people of Syria, so you're to be commended for pushing this. It was a big win. And, we've made some huge mistakes in Syria, but this is a win for certain.
Well, thank you for your fighting on this as well. Okay, I know you don't support everything the president says and does. Unlike many of your colleagues in Congress, you have been critical of him. And I assume you do not condone his comments about Debbie Dingell's late husband. But do you have concerns as a member of, for example, the Foreign Affairs Committee, that Trump will continue trying to persuade foreign leaders or foreign actors to meddle in our elections?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a concern. I don't think it's going to, go off the rails all of a sudden now because he's impeached and he doesn't care. But I do think, there's been some huge challenges on foreign policy. We've made some gains in NATO in terms of what they're spending, but also NATO's unsure that the U.S. will be there to defend them. If Article 5 is invoked, an attack on one, an attack on all, we see what's happened in Syria.
Right.
I think there's some good success actually in Iran, and it seems like maybe we're here in North Korea is getting ready to test a big missile. So I don't think that necessarily impeachment's going to change anything. But like you said, I like a lot of the president's policies, a lot of the tone I don't like, and the attack on Congressman Dingell. I served with him for 2 years, and I'll tell you, he's an honorable man and a great American, even if I disagree on some things.
Sure. So the Washington Post reports that Trump believes Ukraine was meddling in our elections, which contradicts all our own intelligence, because Putin told him it was true. And now his administration opposes a bill that would deter Russia from further interfering in our elections. Isn't Trump's indifference to Russian meddling a problem that even impeachment, won't solve?
I think it's a huge problem. And I think, the big problem is this: when the faith in democracy is undermined, right? And that's whether you don't think your vote counts or whether you think somebody else is influencing the outcome of an election. That's actually really dangerous for the existence of a democracy. When you start to see, and by the way, this is to both left and right, when you start to see the people in the other party as the biggest enemy and not your actual enemies overseas,
right.
That's how democracies fail in the long term. So I've never understood, and I've been very clear from the very beginning, the hesitancy to call out Russia and to fight Russia for what they're doing, because it has very real consequences. And we see it in Eastern Europe, for instance, and we see it in other places where democracy is challenged right now. So I think we have to lean forward on this big time. I think Congress has done it. And where Congress has passed laws and made it clear the executive's job is to execute those laws, not to determine if they don't want to do them.
So let's talk about stuff back at home. Late last night, Trump signed 2 spending packages totaling $1.4 trillion, and that avoids a government shutdown, which is nice at the holidays. But last March, he vowed never to sign an omnibus spending bill like that again. Yet here we are. Are you worried he'll continue to break some of his own domestic promises now that he sees that there's few consequences?
No, look, the omnibus bill is a result of government that doesn't do anything until the last minute. That's how it is. Everybody thinks they're going to hold and maintain leverage. And so they wait, and we go up to a shutdown. Nobody wants to shut the government down, and then they throw all this stuff together. It's a really broken way that we do budgeting. And this is why there's efforts to make it a 2-year cycle, whatever. Something else needs to happen, because we end up in this. This is, by the way, way better than continuing resolutions, which we were doing for a very long time. But, look, it's wrong. And the problem is, again, we're starting to see, I say we collectively as a country, the other party. We're so offended by the existence of another party with a different opinion that we see them as the biggest enemies now. And so we hold back on leverage because we don't want anybody to get a win no matter what it means. That's the dangerous thing right now. And that's my hope in the long term to change the tone in politics. Be passionate about what you believe, but stop thinking of the other side as the enemy, because they're not.
That is a terrific New Year's resolution, and I hope you just sent, you sent it out into the ether. I hope it is received. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thanks so much for coming on.
You bet. See ya.